Still missing and presumed dead following the tragedy Tuesday morning. Officials say there is no hope for survivors at this point as recovery efforts to find their bodies intensify.
We're bracing ourselves for this being the deadliest industrial tragedy in modern Washington state history.
We are also getting a look now at the devastation left behind from this implosion. Video obtained by an independent journalist shows several trucks flipped over at the paper manufacturing plant and the leaking tank partially collapsed and bowed out to the side.
Let's get right to NBC News correspondent Liz Kreutz. Liz, to start, walk us through recovery operations, what they look like right now, and what's the latest on this investigation?
Yeah, hey guys. Well, this seems to be a really slow, tedious, and dangerous process as the first responders continue these recovery efforts. Right now, unfortunate to say, we haven't gotten any significant updates from authorities. They have announced that they're going to have a press conference later today, but not until 6:30 Eastern Time, 3:30 local, where we hope to get some more information on how things have progressed. At this time, we just know that they are still looking for those 9 missing people, and we know that they are also dealing with the dangerous toxic chemical that is leaked outside, some of which, 25,000 gallons of which, were still inside that tank, guys.
And Liz, this tank was holding nearly 1 million gallons, right, of dangerous chemicals. What is the threat of contamination at this point? How worried should the community there be in Longview?
Yeah, I mean, before the explosion, almost 1 million gallons, a huge amount of this toxic chemical that just being, not handling it properly can burn your skin, be very dangerous. What we know is that authorities have said people in the community should not be concerned about any toxicity in the air. They say right now they believe the drinking water is all safe. They're telling people that everything is okay. That said, authorities also did say that they believe some of this toxic chemical made its way into the river in this small community. So that is now raising alarm. Reporters there asked, can you give us more details? How much got into the river? We don't have the answers right now, but certainly that is of some concern.
Liz Kreutz, thanks so much.
The U.S. is stepping up its effort to fight the spread of Ebola. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention asking staff to volunteer at U.S. airports to help screen travelers.
As of now, only 4 airports will accept U.S. citizens traveling from the Democratic Republic of Congo, South Sudan, and Uganda. Those airports include Washington Dulles, Atlanta's Hartsfield-Jackson, George Bush Airport in Houston, and now New York's JFK Airport.
The White House also says it will set up a state-of-the-art facility, as they're calling it, in Kenya to treat Americans infected by the deadly virus in Africa. Joining us now is NBC News correspondent Marquise Francis at JFK Airport in New York. Here with us, NBC News medical contributor Dr. John Torres as well. Marquise, let me start with you. Walk us through how these screenings are working at the airports.
Absolutely. I mean, this is the 4th airport in the U.S. to accept Americans who have been in that region. And what they can expect when they get off the flight is an enhanced screening, which means they'll be escorted to a designated area for screening. They will have to answer a short questionnaire, which will include questions about where they have recently been, their travel history, as well as any potential symptoms. They will also have their temperature checked and any additional assessments needed. Now, that being said, if they do pass these tests seemingly with flying colors, they will be released. But then there will be about 21 days where we'll have periodic check-ins, because that's really that incubation period at which possible symptoms from Ebola could arise. But with so much coming into the U.S., especially with FIFA in just about 2 weeks, this is why it's top of mind for officials and healthcare professionals. Kate Sinclair.
Marquise, thank you. Dr. John, let's bring you in, because part of the difficulty with this virus has been this unique strain, being able to detect it. How are responders trying to overcome that?
And this strain, the Bundibugyo strain, is different than the Zaire, which is what we've dealt with in the past. And that one we have tests for. That one there are vaccines for. There are certain treatments that seem to work for that. This one we don't. And so the problem is right now they're going to have to test based on symptoms. And those symptoms, we know there's a certain time lag between when you get exposed and when those symptoms start up. And so it's possible that people could come in, be testing great, no symptoms, no fevers, go home. A few days later, they start developing symptoms. Now, they're supposedly tracking them at home, but how close are they doing that? And if they start getting symptoms, what are they going to do at that point?
Marquise, let me go back to you for a second, because we mentioned the Trump administration also planning to set up facilities inside Kenya to treat Americans who might be infected across Africa. Tell us more.
Yeah, Kate, we continue to hear from the Trump administration that they want to keep Ebola outside of the U.S. And so they've talked about putting up this facility in Kenya, but they still have to get approval from Kenyan officials. However, when it comes to another director from the World Health Organization, he said this move is unprecedented. In the past, when an American has been infected with Ebola, they're usually flown back to the U.S. for treatment. But now doing so in Kenya, the director says actually puts these Americans in more danger. So there's a bit of push and pull there, a bit of contention. But by and large, everyone wants to keep Ebola at bay, especially with suspected millions of people coming to the country in just a couple of weeks.
Yeah, and Dr. John, can we dig in a bit more on the symptoms specifically? You mentioned there can be delayed onset, but what should folks watch out for?
And so the average time incubation, 8 to 10 days. It's 2 to 21 days, the overall time. But there's dry and wet symptoms. Starts out as dry symptoms. You can see on the list there. It looks a lot like the flu, so people can confuse it with the flu, summer cold, that kind of things. After about 4 days, it switches to the wet symptoms, and those are the ones, especially that unexplained bleeding, they end up being the serious ones and end up being the ones that could be fatal at that point.
All right, Dr. John Torres, Marquise Francis, thanks to you both.
The U.S. Coast Guard is reopening the search for an American